My fiancé told me I was replaceable while wearing a ring I bought, standing inside an apartment I paid for, and demanding that I fund another luxury trip. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I only smiled and said, "Then call one of your other options." By the time Marvin understood what I meant, his phone was disconnected, our wedding was canceled, the apartment was half empty, and every woman he claimed wanted him had suddenly stopped answering. My name is Stella Nolan. I was 28 years old, and I worked as a union crane operator. Most mornings began before sunrise. I spent my days moving steel beams above the city, dealing with crosswinds, tight deadlines, and mistakes that could get someone killed. It was exhausting, dangerous work, but it paid well. My base salary was around $78,000, and overtime pushed me close to $95,000 the previous year. Marvin was 26 and worked part-time at a lifestyle boutique called Sage and Stone, where they sold overpriced candles, crystals, and decorative objects to people convinced that bad energy could be removed with a credit card. His income changed every month, sometimes $800, sometimes $200. The rest of his time went into what he called content creation. Marvin had fewer than 900 followers, but he carried himself like he was one viral video away from becoming famous. We had been together for 3 years and engaged for 8 months. The ring had cost me nearly 3 months of salary. Marvin chose it himself, insisting that anything smaller would look embarrassing in photographs. Our wedding was scheduled for September 15th at an expensive country club. I paid almost every deposit. In the beginning, Marvin had been sweet. He cooked, listened to my work stories, and made ordinary evenings feel exciting. Then I proposed. Almost immediately, he stopped acting like my partner and started acting like someone I had hired to enjoy my money. I covered the rent, utilities, groceries, phone plan, car insurance, subscriptions, and wedding expenses. Marvin always promised to send his share later. Later became next week. Next week became, I forgot. Eventually, he stopped pretending. While I worked 60-hour weeks, Marvin posted photographs of our apartment, expensive dinners, and vacations I financed. His captions talked about abundance, success, and building the life he deserved. Apparently, I was the person responsible for building it. His mother, Isabel, encouraged him. At family dinners, she reminded me that Marvin deserved a beautiful wedding, a large house, and a woman who knew how to support an ambitious man. His father, Jim, usually stayed quiet. Marvin's older sister, Andrea, was the only one honest enough to warn me. "Watch your bank account," she once said. Marvin has always confused being loved with being funded. I laughed. I should have listened. The argument that ended everything happened on a Thursday. I came home exhausted after spending the day positioning steel on a 40-story office building. My shoulders hurt, my clothes were covered in dust, and all I wanted was a shower. Marvin was pacing through the living room with his phone in one hand. Wedding magazines covered the table, and his laptop displayed photographs of a luxury resort. "We're going to Cabo," he announced. I stopped near the door. "For what?" "My cousin's wedding. 5 days. I already responded for both of us." "When?" "Next month." He turned the laptop toward me. "The flights are on hold. You need to pay for them tomorrow." I stared at him. "Marvin, that trip will cost at least $2,000. It's a destination wedding. I understand that. Why did you commit my money without asking me?" His face tightened. "We're engaged, Stella. Couples travel together. We're already spending more than $40,000 on our wedding. You always make everything about money." "Because I'm paying for everything." The room went silent. Then Marvin laughed. It wasn't nervous or embarrassed. It was cruel. "You really think you're my only option?" I felt something inside me go completely still. "What did you say?" "I could have had a ring from 3 other women before you finally proposed. Brianna still messages me. Vanessa reacts to everything I post. I have choices." He lifted his phone as if it proved his value. I looked at the man wearing my ring, standing in my apartment, threatening me with imaginary replacements. "No," I said. "I don't think I'm your only option. Marvin smirked. Exactly. So stop acting like I need your permission. He grabbed the designer bag I had bought him. I'm going to Jade's. Fix your attitude before I get back. The door slammed behind him. I stood alone in the living room, surrounded by photographs from trips I had funded and wedding contracts bearing my signature. For the first time, I understood the truth. Marvin had not threatened to replace me. He had given me permission to leave. I called my best friend, Cora. She answered immediately. Please tell me you finally ended it. He told me I'm not his only option. Cora went quiet for a moment. Then she said, Good. Let one of them pay his bills. She had a spare bedroom and had been offering it to me for months. That night, we made a plan. The next morning, Marvin left for work at 10. The second his car disappeared, I opened my laptop. First, I removed him from my phone plan, then the car insurance, then the gym membership he had used twice. I changed every password connected to my card. After that, I canceled the wedding. The venue kept part of the deposit but removed the remaining balance. The caterer and photographer refunded most of what I had paid. The florist kept everything. I still recovered more than $8,000. Every canceled contract felt like another chain breaking. Marvin's wedding suit was still being altered, so the store refunded the balance to my card. Then I packed. I took my television, gaming console, coffee machine, desk, tools, cookware, and anything else I had purchased. The engagement ring was sitting inside its velvet box near his mirror. I placed it in my pocket. I bought it. It was not a reward for humiliating me. Before leaving, I placed a photograph beneath Marvin's ring light. In the picture, I was holding a whiteboard that read, Save the date. Never. By early afternoon, Cora and I had removed the final box. That evening, my phone began vibrating. Marvin could no longer call from his disconnected number, so he sent messages through Andrea. Where's the television? Why is my phone off? The venue called my mother. You canceled the wedding? Where is my ring? Tell Stella to come back now. Then Andrea sent a message of her own. I warned him this would happen. Cora took my phone and sent Andrea a photograph of herself eating a frozen burrito in front of my television. Tell Marvin one of his options can activate his new phone plan. Andrea replied with laughing emojis. That night, Marvin posted a filtered photograph of himself crying beneath a blanket I had left behind. Sometimes the person you love reveals they never loved you, he wrote. Choosing myself. Healing. His friends flooded the comments with sympathy. I stayed silent. Then, on Monday afternoon, Jade messaged me. You deserve to know the truth. She attached screenshots from Marvin's private group chat. Stella is easy to control. Wedding planning is just an excuse to make her buy things. She thinks I'm her fiancé. Really, she's my personal bank account with a ring. My hands went cold. Then I saw messages between Marvin and Brianna. He had planned to meet her while I was working overtime. He complained that I was becoming suspicious. He joked that marrying me first would make leaving more profitable. The last message had been sent the same afternoon he demanded the Cabo trip. Don't worry, Marvin had written. Stella always gives in eventually. I stared at those words for a long time. Marvin believed I would return because I always had before. But this time, he had made one fatal mistake. I was no longer trying to save our wedding. I was gathering proof that it never should have happened. The next 3 weeks were the quietest I had slept in years. I worked overtime, moved everything into Cora's apartment, hit the gym after work, and watched my savings account grow instead of disappear. It was amazing how much money stayed in my bank account when I wasn't financing someone else's lifestyle. Marvin never stopped trying to reach me. Every few days, a new unknown number would appear. I blocked everyone. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, a message finally caught my attention. Stella, I'm in serious trouble. Brianna's pregnant. We need to talk. I read it twice before laughing. I replied with 5 words. Congratulations. Who's the father? He called immediately. Against my better judgment, I answered. His voice sounded softer than I had ever heard it. I know how this looks. Then explain it. It isn't what you think. So Brianna isn't pregnant? A long pause. She is. And? I made mistakes, Stella. Mistakes don't usually last 9 months. He sighed heavily. She says the baby's mine. And why exactly is that my problem? Because everyone knows we were engaged. There it was. He wasn't worried about becoming a father. He was worried about looking like the villain. I need you to help me. I almost dropped the phone laughing. You cheated on me. I know. You humiliated me. I know. You told me I was replaceable. I know. And now you need my help? His silence answered for him. We could still have a small wedding, he whispered. People don't have to know everything. I actually wondered whether he could hear how hard I was laughing. You want me to marry you after you got another woman pregnant? It would solve everything. No, Marvin. It would solve everything for you. He tried another approach. Brianna isn't ready to be a mother. Neither are you. I still love you. No, you loved my paycheck. He became defensive. That's not fair. No? Tell me something I paid for that you actually appreciated. Silence. I'll wait. Nothing. Finally, he whispered, please. I hung up. 2 hours later, another unknown number called. This time, it was Brianna. You stole my boyfriend. I blinked. I'm sorry. What? Marvin told me you manipulated him with money. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He said he wanted to leave you months ago. He did leave me. You ruined his life. No, Brianna. I leaned back in my chair. Marvin ruined both of ours. Before she could answer, I texted her every screenshot Jade had sent me, the group chat, the insults, the messages where Marvin called me his personal ATM, the conversations arranging dates with her while pretending to plan a wedding with me. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. It was Marvin. What did you send her? The truth. You had no right. I had every right. She left. I know. So now what? Now you get to experience consequences. He exploded. You've destroyed everything. I laughed. No, Marvin. You destroyed everything the day you decided I was replaceable. I ended the call. A week later, Andrea invited me for coffee. She looked exhausted. You look happier, she said. I am. She smiled. I figured. Then her expression became serious. You should know what's happening. Apparently, Marvin had moved back into his parents' house. Isabel blamed me for everything. According to her, I had abandoned a good man because I cared more about money than love. Jim barely spoke anymore. Andrea rolled her eyes. Dad actually told Mom that Marvin had been living off you for years. What did she say? She called Dad unsupportive. Neither of us was surprised. Andrea stirred her coffee. There's something else. What? Marvin convinced Brianna to come back. Seriously? He told her you were abusive. I couldn't help smiling. And she believed him? For about 4 days. What changed? She asked who actually paid for the wedding. I laughed so hard people turned to look at us. Andrea laughed too. I told her the truth. How did Marvin react? He said money doesn't matter in real love. I nearly choked on my coffee. The guy who never paid rent? The very same. For another week, everything stayed quiet. Then Saturday arrived. Cora and I had just finished lunch when someone started pounding on the apartment door. Not knocking. Pounding. Cora looked at me. Expected? No. I opened the door. Marvin stood there. Beside him was Brianna. Both looked exhausted. Marvin stepped forward. We need to talk. We really don't. Brianna folded her arms. You owe us an apology. I actually looked behind me to see if hidden cameras were filming. I'm sorry? You embarrassed Marvin. I couldn't believe she was serious. I embarrassed him? You ruined his reputation. I laughed. No. He ruined it himself. Marvin's face darkened. You didn't have to send those screenshots. You shouldn't have written them. His jaw tightened. You've turned everyone against me. No. You did that all by yourself. Brianna suddenly pointed toward my pickup parked outside. Maybe losing a few things will teach you some empathy. She took 2 quick steps toward the truck. Before she reached it, Cora walked past me. Without raising her voice, she caught Brianna's wrist. Bad idea. Let go. No. Marvin tried stepping between them. Cora calmly pulled out her phone. I'm recording. Everything stopped. She looked directly at both of them. You have exactly 10 seconds to leave before I call the police. Marvin hesitated. Brianna pulled free. This isn't over. Cora smiled. It is if you keep talking. I folded my arms. The next conversation happens through my lawyer. Marvin stared at me for several seconds. For the first time since we met, he looked genuinely afraid. Not because he had lost me, because he had finally realized he couldn't control me anymore. They walked away without another word. As soon as they disappeared, Cora lowered her phone. Were you actually recording? She grinned. No. I burst out laughing. You bluff better than Marvin ever did. She shrugged. I learned from watching him. The laughter faded when my phone buzzed. A wall of messages from Isabel. You assaulted my son. You've destroyed this family. You'll regret this. I took screenshots of every message. Then I called my attorney. This time, I wasn't just walking away. I was making sure Marvin could never drag me back into his chaos again. My attorney filed the restraining order 3 days later. Between Marvin's messages, his surprise visit to Cora's apartment, his mother's threats, and the screenshots Jade had given me, there was more than enough evidence. For the first time in months, I felt safe. Marvin, apparently, felt desperate. A week later, Cora walked into the apartment laughing so hard she nearly dropped her phone. You need to see this. She handed me the screen. Someone had started a fundraiser. Help a heartbroken groom rebuild his life. The story claimed Marvin had been abandoned by his fiancée without warning after spending everything on their dream wedding. According to the page, he was struggling financially while supporting his pregnant girlfriend after I had cruelly destroyed both of their futures. I almost admired the creativity. The only problem? Every major expense listed had been paid by me. The venue, the catering, the photographer, the honeymoon deposits, everything. Cora donated $1. Her comment read, maybe ask one of your other options. Less than 48 hours later, the fundraiser disappeared after several people reported it for fraud. Andrea called that evening. You'll enjoy this. What happened? Brianna finally found out the truth. Apparently, she had asked Marvin a simple question. If Stella was so controlling, why did every receipt have her name on it? Marvin couldn't answer. Then she discovered the canceled vendor invoices. Every payment came from my account. Every refund had returned to my account. Every contract listed me as the only financially responsible person. Andrea laughed. Brianna packed her things within an hour. So she left? Without saying goodbye. And Marvin? He spent 20 minutes begging in the driveway. For someone with so many options, he suddenly seemed very alone. Life became surprisingly peaceful after that. I accepted extra shifts at work. My supervisor promoted me to lead operator on one of our largest downtown projects, and with the raise, my annual salary climbed even higher. Instead of paying someone else's bills, I upgraded my tools, moved into a small townhouse with a garage, and finally bought the truck I had postponed purchasing because of wedding expenses. Then, I met Lucas. He owned a diesel repair shop and was servicing one of our contractor's trucks when we were introduced. His hands were covered in grease, his shirt was stained with engine oil, and his first words to me were, "Some engineer designed this like they hated mechanics." I laughed harder than I had in months. Lucas never asked what I earned, never expected me to pay, never acted impressed by expensive things. On our third date, I finally told him everything about Marvin. He listened quietly until I finished. Then he smiled. So your ex lost the best thing that ever happened to him. That's your professional opinion? No. He shrugged. That's basic math. For the first time since ending my engagement, I believed someone liked me instead of what I could provide. I thought the story was finally over. Then another unknown number texted me. Replacing me doesn't make you a better person. You ruined my life. You'll regret this forever. No signature. None was necessary. I took a screenshot, forwarded it directly to my attorney, blocked the number. That was my entire response. A few days later, my lawyer informed me that Marvin had violated the restraining order again. The court wasn't nearly as patient as I had been. Andrea sent me one final update. My dad finally admitted Mom spent years pretending Marvin could do no wrong. What about Marvin? He's still telling people you abandoned him. Does anyone believe him? She paused. Not anymore. I looked around my new home that evening. No unpaid bills, no wedding magazines, no arguments about money, no pretending that love meant unlimited access to my bank account. Just peace. Sometimes people ask whether I regret losing thousands of dollars canceling that wedding. I always give them the same answer. Not for a second. Because that money didn't buy a failed marriage. It bought my freedom. Marvin once smiled and told me I wasn't his only option. He was right. I wasn't. The difference was that when I finally walked away, every option he bragged about disappeared. And for the first time in my life, I chose myself.